Can you re-describe for me the needs of the city right now?
Well, the general fund is the fund that's lacking. We've lost over $500,000 in that fund in the last couple of years. That $500,000 is not just the 1 year. I mean, this is an ongoing thing. So if you take that much money out of the general fund, you know, it directly affects the police forces, the fire, our building repairs, our parks, and numerous other things. So we can't do anything about it. We've been talking about having a tax increase of some sort or some type of a levy for about 5 years when Mr. Piscura was in here, and it's inevitable that it was going to happen. That was the last thing I wanted to do, obviously being in this office, but we're down to 6 full-time officers right now.
Down from what?
We had, I think, approximately, let's see, how many would we be lost? Let me think about this.
Sure. Oh, and one more thing is a production of the Westlife and Two Press newspapers serving Cleveland's West Shore. My name is Peter Cummings, Managing Editor. Thanks for listening.
Cherry pace here. We'll see. We actually lost a police chief. There's another one. We lost almost 7 full-time police.
So the force has shrunk from 13 down to 6.
Correct. And we've hired some part-time fill-ins because we're forced to do that because we can't afford to do this. Now everybody's saying you're turning the department into a part-time department. That wasn't fully untrue. This is because we can't afford to do it.
So what do you do when you're all out of dough? When you've cut your police force in half and your firefighters face the possibility they will be turned into a volunteer force? You ask voters to approve a 0.5% income tax increase, which, if passed, would generate roughly $500,000 per year. That's enough, according to Mayor Dennis Bring, to restore the city budget to a level not seen since 2008, a mere 5 years ago. The same levy request failed earlier this year.
I think the general public is still not aware of what goes on a daily basis in our city. You know, we just did 26 different roads paved. They see that and they think everything's just wonderful. They come to me, you know, you're doing a great job, you're doing a great job. The general daily stuff that goes on, that's what people see. You know, the participation in city council. If we have 1 or 2 people show up anymore, it's amazing.
Among residents, you mean, to a meeting?
Yeah. And then when you go out and talk to people, you know, I think everybody's lives have changed so much that they've got so much going on all day long. They don't have time to see. It may be different in other cities. The one thing that we did have years ago was that we did have city council minutes on a channel that they were able to view. The company that we were doing that with wants an exorbitant amount of money to do that. Now, we had another company come in recently, another cable company. They had promised me that they would give me a designated channel and let us do that if they went, and, you know, if we went with that.
Right.
Which we are looking into. Again, everything we look into has to come down to dollars and cents. I'm not going to spend any more money than I have to, unless it's worthwhile. But they have offered that to us. We're probably going to do that. There's a gentleman that's on city council now that was a retired teacher, Mark Cecil. He did that for the high school. So he's more than glad to volunteer for all that, set everything all up. So we're looking to try to get that back on so that keeps people more informed. But to go back to your question, Yeah, I think people are still surprised and have no idea about the finances of the city. And then the biggest fallacy is that when we purchased the shopping center, everybody thought we took all this money out and purchased the shopping center. We bonded that out. That money is being paid back through the rent roll. So there's no money coming out of the general fund or any other fund of the city. It's still being paid through the rent. It's not like we're paying down millions of dollars in this thing. You know, we chip away a little bit at a time. And everybody says, you know, it's the worst thing we could have done. Well, here's what we looked at. If we didn't purchase the shopping center, Giant Eagle was already moving out because they said they'd had enough with the previous owners, and we were going to lose our grocery store, which is the only grocery store in the city. We had Rite Aid, which was the only drugstore.
Right.
We were going to lose them. They just re-signed with us for 15 years. Apple's came in. They re-signed us for 15 years. The bank was going to leave. We were not going to have a bank in here. There's been a couple other stores over there. We've improved the shopping center to make it look more eye-appealing. It's not the best shopping center in the world, as everybody knows, but we've made it better. And without that, we would have lost that. So where we would have been then, because most of those windows the glass were broke, they were boarded up, the place looked terrible, and that was kind of the focal point of our city would come in.
So how do you measure the net gain in that investment if the rent that those businesses pay takes care of the bond payments that the city owes for having bought the property? How do you measure any net financial gain, or is that the best way to measure that investment in terms of keeping those businesses in the city?
I don't think it's going to be a financial gain for the city. I think, you know, in the long run, our whole goal was to make that look better, bring the business in as much as we possibly can. I will tell you recently, and I've got several emails, there are several people that are looking to rent the shopping center out. As far as I'm concerned, I do not want to own the shopping center. Nobody on city council wants to own the shopping center. So by doing what we're doing, it should attract somebody to come in and purchase the shopping center. And that's what we're ultimately trying to get, somebody to come in and ultimately take over the whole thing. And we'll back out and leave it for somebody else. As things have gotten slightly better, we have gotten some interest in that. But again, I'm not going to give it away. I have to, and I'm not going to, you know, I don't want to make millions. I'd love to make millions of dollars, but we know realistic that basically we're probably going to get very close to what we paid for it.
How much did you pay for it?
$3.2 million.
When Mayor Brink talks about making payments on the shopping center, it reminds me of my August interview with Avon Mayor Jim Smith. Smith used the metaphor of cities as homeowners. Avon can afford to make the payments on an expensive home. In Sheffield Lake, the debt relative to Avon's is small. In real dollars, the shopping center on Lake Road is also paying for itself. Even if the investment doesn't turn a huge profit, it carries with it the value of the city's having a grocery store and a drugstore. There's a level of complexity in terms of the working knowledge that I hope residents anywhere, not just in Sheffield Lake, are capable of participating in. Do you think there's some anxiety? Maybe people stay away because it would be too hard to understand?
As far as the way the funding and stuff?
Well, generally speaking, I just mean that there are any number of regulations that city governments have to follow, and if I elect you to follow those regulations, certainly I expect you to, but maybe I feel like then I don't have to.
Yeah, and it goes back to what's going on every day. People, if you have 2 or 3 kids, multiple things they get involved in, you know, people are running around constantly. The other part is that we have so many single parent homes anymore. There's only one parent with all these with kids, you know, and that's becoming more and more prevalent. So how can the family get involved in stuff when there's so much, you know, if you got a mom going to work every day and coming home and she has to take care of her 3 kids and this and that. You know, if you got a father that's, you know, if he's a single parent, I mean, it's very difficult. And basically when I grew up, we all had 2 parents, and this is the way things went. You know, divorce was a terrible thing. If you lost your house, it was a terrible thing. Well, now if you get divorced, it's not a big thing. If you lose your house, oh well, you know.
Right.
So, I don't know.
Do you feel like you have a need to be able to expect them to set aside some of that so that they can also understand or take part in some level of civic participation?
Yeah, most of the civic participation is still kind of the older regime. The people that were involved in that, most of them have passed away or gotten so, you know, old that, you know, they're trying to you know, just take care of their everyday lives. So again, it goes back to the younger crowd, and you got your iPads, your iPhones, and everything else, and all your computers. The kids don't have to go anywhere anymore to get involved because they got all the information they want.
Oh, and one more thing is a production of the Westlife and Two Press newspapers serving Cleveland's West Shore. My name is Peter Cummings, managing editor. Thanks for listening.